Hey there, folks! If you're curious about ancient mysteries and long-lost treasures, you're in the right place. Go ahead and follow our channel so you won't miss this story or any of the other adventures we've got lined up. And, it really helps us out if you subscribe, and drop a comment. Thanks for being here. Scientists discover a pyramid holding treasures buried for over 2,000 years. Turns out they've uncovered a never-before-seen pyramid hidden beneath the sands of Judea. After a bit of digging, they realized it contained treasures untouched for more than 2 millennia, and historical secrets that were only just beginning to uncover. At the Zohar fortress site, sitting 2,600 feet above the Dead Sea, archaeologists were originally searching for manuscripts that could shed new light on the area's history. The excavation was part of a long-term campaign launched by the authorities to protect sites from looting and illegal digs. What they didn't expect was to stumble upon a pyramid-shaped structure built on top of a hill made of hand-cut stones, each weighing hundreds of pounds. At first, experts thought it was just a tomb, but once they noticed the original wall structures, they realized the hill itself was actually a man-made building. They also saw signs that someone had dug into the top of the structure, probably ancient looters who had found something valuable there. Luckily, most of the pyramid remained buried in sand, which kept the most important discoveries hidden from sight. In the very first week of digging, volunteers uncovered fragments of papyrus bronze vases and even old furniture, all remarkably well preserved. The desert climate had been a huge ally in keeping these artifacts intact. With little humidity in the air, mold couldn't grow, meaning organic materials like wood and fibers stayed safe from cracking and decay. At first, some thought the pyramid dated back to the First Temple period, but new findings showed it was more recent than the Hellenistic era. Based on the evidence and the fact that it's around 2,200 years old, it's believed the structure was built not long after the death of Alexander the Great, the famous Macedonian king. After his death, his generals divided up the vast Seleucid Empire. The Ptolemies took control of Egypt and the Dead Sea region, while the Seleucids held the northern territories that are now part of the Middle East. It's still unclear whether the pyramid was built under the Ptolemies or the Seleucids. Coins from both dynasties were found on site, though many scholars lean toward the Ptolemaic period. Evidence also suggests that the structure collapsed at some point, but that wasn't what led to its abandonment by the ancients. Which raises the question, what was its purpose? Some believe it served as a tomb, thanks to its commanding hilltop location. Others argue it might have been a landmark, but one of the strongest theories is that it was actually a watchtower guarding a major trade route. Salt and bitumen were transported from the Dead Sea to coastal ports, and officials may have used the pyramid to monitor trade and collect taxes, something like an ancient toll booth or customs checkpoint. The papyrus documents found inside remain a mystery, but experts strongly suspect they were written in Greek and may have been tax records, which fits perfectly with the watchtower theory. The team describes the pyramid as a fascinating historical puzzle, but they see this find as just one grain of sand in a vast desert of hidden history. Their excavation is part of a much larger ongoing project. In just the last 8 years, archaeologists have surveyed 111 miles of desert cliffs and identified nearly 900 caves. Using advanced technology and specialized documentation methods, they've uncovered thousands of rare artifacts, hidden scrolls, carpentry tools, carpets, leather goods, and even treasures. To them, the Judean desert is like a massive vault waiting to be opened. Just a few years before the pyramid's discovery, archaeologists also found a cave that had once sheltered Jewish rebels nearly 1,900 years ago. The cave was tucked about 262 feet down a cliff, making it incredibly difficult to reach and previously unexplored. Inside, they uncovered never-before-seen fragments of the Dead Sea Scrolls containing religious passages written in Greek. 11 lines of text were successfully reconstructed thanks to their excellent condition. And, once again, the desert's dry heat played the key role in preserving them. The artifacts they found were in perfect condition, And there were even more historical treasures waiting. Teams uncovered rare coins and a partially mummified skeleton that's over 6,000 years old, still with skin, tendons, and even strands of hair. They also discovered a giant basket woven from plant fibers. It's the oldest one ever found, over 10,000 years old, with a capacity of about 26 gallons. To put it in perspective, that basket was made roughly 1,000 years before humans even invented pottery. And speaking of treasures, another find really caught the attention of the scientific community. A small piece of fabric, nearly 3,800 years old. But it wasn't just any fabric. It was dyed with a rare crimson pigment that's mentioned many times in ancient religious texts. This is the earliest known example of cloth dyed with pigment made from scale insects, which is where the deep red colour comes from. Back then, crimson dye was as valuable as royal blue or purple, because these insects only lived on oak trees and could only be harvested for a short period each year. That made the colour extremely rare, reserved for sacred fabrics like priestly garments that symbolised high status and religious importance. Even though this piece of fabric was incredibly significant for archaeology, it was tiny, less than an inch across. It was actually discovered in 2016 during excavations in what's known as the Cave of Skulls, though nobody knows exactly how the cloth ended up there. According to experts, it proves that people already knew how to dye wool fibers almost 3,800 years ago. It also shows that ancient textile makers were using animal-based dyes around the same time humans were first developing written records. Painted fabrics using this type of dye have been recorded in later periods, but what makes this one truly special is its age. It's much older than any other known piece. Another major discovery came in 1980, when scientists found a seed that was over 1,000 years old. Against all odds, they managed to bring it back to life. After 14 years of careful cultivation, it grew into a mysterious tree called cheva, now standing about 10 feet tall. Later studies suggested it might belong to an extinct lineage of trees that once grew in the region. Carbon dating showed the seed was from somewhere between 993 and 122 of the Common Era. Researchers believe this ceiba tree could be a biblical tree often associated with healing. While it's impossible to identify the exact species since it hasn't flowered, we know it belongs to the Comifera genus, the same family as the famous myrrh tree of Africa. But what's even more fascinating is what modern science revealed. Its leaves and resin are packed with compounds that have medicinal, antioxidant and skin-soothing properties. This means the tree could represent a forgotten lineage whose resin once held great healing value and was even mentioned in ancient texts. Discoveries like this shine a light on how ancient people practiced plant-based medicine. That's all for today. If this sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like the video